The ballroom in Washington, D.C. was electric. Crystal chandeliers glowing, champagne glasses clinking, and 1,300 of the most powerful people in America seated shoulder to shoulder. This wasn't just another political dinner, it was a display of dominance. And at the center of it all, stepping onto the stage with practiced bravado, was Donald J. Trump. He smiled, soaking in the spotlight, waving casually to familiar donors and senators. The crowd rose, clapping loud, some even whistling. Phones were raised. Cameras flashed like lightning. He hadn't even spoken yet, and already he controlled the room. Then, he paused. Trump's smile narrowed, his posture shifted. He leaned into the mic, and with a voice as casual as it was calculated, he dropped the match. You know, they've got this new Democrat, Crockett, I think her name is. Yeah, I watched her the other day. She's definitely low IQ. Laughter. Uneasy. Scattered. Someone in the third row chuckled a bit too loudly, then quieted. A senator scratched his head. A woman in the front just blinked. No one expected that. But Trump did. He stood there, grinning, like a man who believed he'd just won something. And in that moment, the air changed. She's low IQ. 3 words, thrown like a rock in a still pond. There was laughter, but not the joyful kind. It was thin, nervous, the kind of laugh people give when they're unsure if it's safe to react. A few clapped, but the claps felt slow, unsure, like they didn't want to, but felt expected to. Then, the room changed. Camera 4 caught Senator Cory Booker leaning back, his smile fading. Another senator glanced sideways. A Democratic aide stared down at her notepad, suddenly scribbling furiously, and the camera zoomed in on faces. Not the usual smiles, not the rehearsed nods, just discomfort. Tension crawled across the floor like smoke, because everyone in that room, every donor, every politician, every staffer, knew exactly what just happened. A former president had stood under bright lights, in front of 1,300 guests, and publicly questioned the intelligence of a sitting black congresswoman, not for her policies, not for her record, but for who she was. And he wanted people to laugh with him. But not everyone did. While the headlines exploded in Washington, Jasmine Crockett was in Texas. No podium, no press conference, no fire in her voice, just stillness. She sat alone in her office. The blinds were half closed. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Staffers hovered outside, waiting for instructions, for orders, for a reaction. But there was none. At least not the kind they expected. Jasmine didn't storm into the media. She didn't hold up signs. She didn't yell. She picked up her phone, opened Twitter, and typed. "You sure do say my name a lot. Must be scared of bold, black truth." 16 words. No hashtags, no all caps, no anger. But it hit like thunder. Within minutes, the tweet lit up, reposted, quoted, screenshotted, debated. Because it wasn't just a comeback, it was a challenge. Trump had tried to bury her with one sentence. Instead, she made the nation turn around and listen. And she did it without raising her voice. Within 36 hours, the numbers were undeniable. 9.2 million views. Across X, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Her tweet was everywhere. On morning talk shows, on late-night comedy. People weren't just watching. They were rewinding it, quoting it, tattooing it on their own pride. And yet, Jasmine said nothing more. No second tweet, no viral video, no podcast rant. She was silent. But silence didn't mean inaction. Inside her office, the lights stayed on late. Piles of documents spread across her desk. Case files, oversight memos, hearing transcripts. While the media begged for a headline, she was building a case. Every tab she opened had weight. One showed a contract. Another, a whistleblower tip. A third, hidden emails tied to federal contracts. Jasmine wasn't looking for revenge. She was preparing something far more dangerous to corrupt power. Accountability. And the world was watching. They just didn't know what was coming. Before the cameras, before the tweets, before she became the face of calm resistance. Jasmine Crockett had already walked through fire. They used to call her too loud. They whispered behind courtroom doors that she was too emotional. Some said she wasn't polished enough. And more than once, not behind her back, but to her face. They said she lacked the intellect. She remembered every word. Flash. A dim courtroom in Dallas. Flash. A dim courtroom in Dallas. She was just a young public defender. Her suit was 2 years old. Her briefcase had a broken latch. But her arguments? Bulletproof. A judge interrupted her mid-sentence. "Ms. Crockett, maybe if you spoke less and thought more, you'd be taken seriously in this court." Gasps. Silence, then a moment. Jasmine didn't blink. She didn't flinch. She calmly flipped a page in her file and said, "Then allow me to think aloud. For the record." The court reporter's fingers froze for half a second. A juror smirked. Even the prosecutor bit their lip. Because she wasn't there to be liked. She was there to win. And in the eyes of every viewer watching her now, this wasn't the first time Jasmine Crockett had been insulted. But it had always been the last time for the one who dared to. Morning broke over Capitol Hill. The marble floors gleamed under the cold glow of overhead lights. And outside room 224B, a storm was waiting. Cameras lined the hallway. Boom mics hovered like vultures. Reporters clustered in tight circles, whispering, checking phones, adjusting ties. Everyone was waiting for her. "Congresswoman, do you have a response? Do you feel targeted? Will you be pressing charges? Did the president cross a line?" The door creaked. And then she stepped out. No security detail. No press secretary. No entourage in power suits. Just Jasmine, in a black coat holding a thin folder. No sunglasses, no smug smile, no panic. She didn't rush. She didn't flinch. The hallway quieted, just enough for her heels to echo. She walked forward, calm, straight, intentional. And every camera, every single lens, turned like satellites to lock on her face. She stopped, turned toward the press, paused, and that pause was louder than anything Trump had said the night before. She looked at them, not with anger, not with fear, but with the kind of calm that made people shift in their seats. Then she spoke. One sentence, measured, precise, sharp as a scalpel. "I don't raise my voice to prove points. I raise it to protect truth." No one clapped, not a sound. But something happened, something more powerful than applause. The entire hallway paused. A camera operator forgot to zoom. A CNN analyst, mid-sip of coffee, stood straight up. One reporter's hand trembled as they scribbled furiously in their notebook, because they all realized it at the same time. This wasn't a comeback. This was a counterstrike, and it had just landed. The power of that moment wasn't in its volume. It was in its control. She didn't match Trump's insult with rage. She erased it with a truth he couldn't touch. And the nation finally started listening. It was supposed to be funny. It was supposed to knock her off balance. Elon Musk, tech mogul, Twitter troll, self-proclaimed genius, had just posted a meme. It showed a cartoon donkey in glasses, holding a microphone, shouting, "I passed one bill, hear me roar." The target was obvious, Jasmine Crockett. The message? She's a nobody, a loudmouth, a rookie with nothing real to offer. And just like that, millions laughed. Shares, retweets, fire emojis. The internet thought she'd spiral, that she'd fire back with rage, that she'd fall into the trap. But they forgot one thing. Jasmine Crockett doesn't flinch. While Musk flexed his meme muscles, she was already in motion, not online, but on paper. In the back rooms of Capitol Hill, she was building something far more dangerous than a tweet storm. She was building a case file. And soon, Elon Musk would learn, the most powerful woman in the room is the one quietly taking notes. The hearing room was packed, not with noise, but with tension. Cameras were rolling. Reporters were scribbling. Elon Musk's legal team sat 2 rows back, stone-faced, silent. And then Jasmine Crockett stepped up to the microphone. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't pound the table. She opened a manila folder. 1, 2, 3 documents, laid carefully on the wood. Leaked contracts, whistleblower testimony. A signed memo from a Musk executive detailing questionable payments. She looked straight ahead. Her tone? Ice cold. Her words? A scalpel. If your future is built on tax fraud and silence, it's not innovation. It's theft. Silence. Not the respectful kind. The stunned kind. The nobody dare move kind. A staffer dropped their pen. One senator audibly gasped. Someone in the back whispered, "Did she just say that?" She did. The moment was caught on video. Every breath, every blink. It hit 4.8 million views in less than 24 hours. And across the country, people weren't laughing anymore. They were watching, wide-eyed, and waiting for what she'd do next. She didn't shout. She didn't storm out of hearings. She didn't fight dirty. And yet, she won, over and over again. Jasmine Crockett had become something more than a name. She became a symbol. The internet called it quiet power, a force that didn't need to scream to be heard, a strategy built not on volume, but on precision. Gen Z gave her a nickname, the courtroom sniper, not loud, but lethal. Clips of her cool stare during hearings were remixed with dramatic music. Students made montages of her shutting down billionaires with calm questions and sharper facts. Then, it went further. At Howard University, a political science professor launched a new course, the Crockett Method, Truth and Tone. The syllabus, how to disarm power without raising your voice, how to turn facts into impact, how silence, when timed right, becomes the loudest weapon in the room. Jasmine wasn't just speaking truth. She was teaching the country how to wield it. While cable news replayed her sound bites, Jasmine was doing something far more dangerous. She wasn't campaigning for headlines. She was campaigning for power. But not the kind with parades or podiums. The kind built in back rooms. The kind whispered in elevators, traded over quiet dinners, decided in closed-door briefings. She had her eye on something bigger. Chairwoman of the House Oversight Committee. That role meant subpoena power. That role meant investigative control. That role scared the hell out of people who had something to hide. But Jasmine didn't announce her plans. She didn't post about it. She didn't beg for endorsements. Instead, she walked office to office, one conversation at a time, and every conversation came with receipts. Here's what I've done. Here's what I can prove. And here's what we're letting slip through the cracks. Colleagues who once dismissed her as fiery but unfocused started to see something terrifying. She had a map, and she was already halfway through it. No lights, no cameras, just a long oak table and the weight of secrets. It was a private oversight committee session, one of those rare, off-the-record briefings where the real conversations happen, the kind where reputations are saved or destroyed. Staffers waited outside, doors shut, phones silenced. Inside, the most powerful lawmakers in America leaned in, whispered, deflected. But when it was Jasmine Crockett's turn, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't bring a binder. She didn't wave papers in the air. She simply asked, if billionaires can dodge rules and presidents can dodge truth, what exactly are we teaching the people who actually follow the law? And then, silence. Not 3 seconds. Not 5. 12. 12 full seconds where no one could speak. A senator coughed. Another shifted in their chair. Someone scribbled nonsense into a legal pad just to avoid eye contact. It wasn't a question. It was a spotlight, turned on all of them. And when it ended, nobody clapped. Nobody rebutted. But a GOP staffer, stunned, later whispered to a reporter, "She didn't just win. She dismantled the room." She didn't tweet about it. She didn't hold a press conference. She didn't leak the transcript. She didn't need to. Because what happened in that room leaked itself. The silence had weight. And it traveled. Days later, you'd hear it in side hallways. She's the one who asked that question. You know, the one who didn't flinch. Not Jasmine, not Crockett. Just the one who didn't flinch. Lobbyists started whispering her name with caution. Opponents paused before mentioning her in interviews. Even cable news anchors, trained to dominate airtime, left quiet space when her name came up on live panels. The political machine wasn't just reacting, it was adjusting. She hadn't written a bill that day. She hadn't passed legislation, but she did something rarer. She made Washington hold its breath, and it hadn't exhaled since. He couldn't help himself. Even after weeks of silence from her, Donald Trump returned to his favorite target. At a rally in South Carolina in front of red hats and roaring crowds, he smirked. Jasmine Crockett, please. I doubt she could pass a 6th grade history test. The crowd howled. The soundbite spread fast. Cable news clipped it. Social media mocked it. But Jasmine didn't tweet, didn't clap back, didn't call a press conference. She uploaded a 1-minute video. No music, no edit cuts, no filter. It showed her standing in front of a podium at a community event 3 days earlier. She was mid-speech, and she wasn't looking at notes. She wasn't reading a prompter. She was speaking from memory, and she wasn't reciting slogans. She was quoting the U.S. Constitution, section by section, clause by clause. Her cadence was flawless. Her facts, unshakable. The caption beneath the video, "They keep testing me. I keep passing." It didn't need 1,000 retweets. It didn't need applause. It was the kind of blow that doesn't land with sound. It lands with silence. And that silence was final. It wasn't a campaign ad. It wasn't a viral tweet. It wasn't even a soundbite. It was a photograph. Snapped quietly during a late-night hearing, long after the cameras had packed up and the headlines had moved on. Jasmine Crockett sat alone. A single lamp cast soft light on her notepad. No one was watching, and she wasn't performing. She was writing, focused, present, completely still. A law student, unknown, untagged, printed that photo, taped it to their dorm wall, and scribbled 6 words beneath it. "You don't have to yell to be remembered." And in those 6 words, her legacy was already unfolding. She didn't ask to be the next AOC. She didn't chase microphones. She didn't brand herself. She just showed up, again and again, with facts, with files, with silence that shattered noise. And somehow, in the chaos of American politics, that was the loudest act of all. Jasmine Crockett didn't need to become famous. She became unignorable, not because she raised her voice, but because she never lowered her truth. Sometimes the loudest strength is the quietest one. In a world obsessed with shouting, performing, and going viral, Jasmine Crockett reminded us of something rare and timeless. That truth doesn't need to scream to be powerful. That silence, when anchored in integrity, can be more deafening than any insult. And that dignity, held steady in the face of mockery, is a form of leadership we need more than ever. So when life tests you, when someone underestimates you, mocks your voice, or questions your worth, don't always feel the need to shout back. Instead, pause. Stand tall. Speak when it matters. Because the world eventually listens to those who never lower their truth. If this story moved you, if it made you think, reflect, or remember what dignity looks like in the face of power, then don't just scroll. Subscribe. Here at AZ Exposed, we bring you the stories the news won't tell, stories of resistance, truth, and quiet courage. Because sometimes the ones who whisper are the ones who change everything.